You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast presented by GoHighLevel.com. For a free 30-day trial of the best all-in-one digital marketing software tool on the planet, just go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis. What's going on, money makers? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money. If you're new to the show, we release brand new conversations just like this one with unconventional money makers every single day of the week. So if you haven't yet, please be sure to go to your podcast app of choice, including YouTube, and subscribe to the show, follow the show there so you never miss an opportunity to learn how to make more money. And while you're there, if you want to drop a quick rating and review, we will be eternally grateful to you, as it does tremendously help out the show. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about the mindset required to make more money with my good friend, Shamina Taylor. Shamina, an attorney turned wealth expert, business mentor, author, and speaker, helps high-achieving women elevate their lives and businesses. With 20 plus years of experience, she's helped hundreds build businesses online and offline. Her top clients earn up to $100,000 a month and have crossed $1 million in revenue. Plus, she mentors some Grammy-winning celebrities and achieved $1 million in her own business in just 10 months. So, Shamina, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Travis.
Of course. Let's go back in time like I do with the majority of my guests, Shamina. Tell me how you made your first dollar ever.
My first dollar. Well, I was probably like 8 selling some chips out of the garage in my parents' house. And I was
Some
like selling
chips?
chips.
Okay,
I'm
got it.
Canadian, so potato chips.
Ah, I see. I see.
And but I saw an opportunity to make, I wanted money so I could buy candy. So I made some lemonades, I sold some chips, I sold some books, but then I turned around and had to buy the books back because I didn't want to or get the books back from my friends. But that was probably my first dollar back then.
Absolutely love it. What was your most recent dollar?
My most recent dollar that I made
Yes,
this morning.
this morning. And was that coaching?
That was it was through passive income. It was through a funnel.
Oh, great. Awesome. So let's bridge the gap now. So we talked about first dollar, we talked about most recent dollar. How did you get to where you are now? So I know you are an attorney, so that took a little bit of time and effort to go get that career to happen. And then it takes even more effort, seemingly, for people who've taken that much time and effort to get a career moving to then switch careers and do something completely different that you didn't even need to go to school for. So let's talk a little bit about the evolution here. Tell me about law school. Why did you choose to be an attorney?
Well, I was always someone who is fighting for other people's rights, and I had a voice, whether people didn't have a voice. I was not afraid to speak up. I think that people just kept telling me, you should be an attorney, because I was always arguing for something, arguing for somebody.
Yeah.
And it was just a natural progression. After business school, I went to law school. And for me personally, I love getting someone a result that they couldn't get for themselves because I had the tools to do it for them.
Hmm. So that was the ultimate spur in that direction.
Yeah, and I'm a great negotiator. Like, I mean, I have a 17-year-old turning 18 soon, and I'm seeing a mirror of myself. She literally gets everything she wants, and I feel like I am that same person. It's just a matter of when it's coming, but I'm always going to get what I want.
Okay, so you become an attorney. What type of law did you practice?
I was a real estate attorney, actually. I first
Okay.
started off in PI, but then I got I started off PI plaintiffs, and then I went to another firm, and then I was getting excited because people, well, I'm not excited, but the only way I would make money is like when someone got injured. And being empathic, it was something that I couldn't do anymore. So I wanted to have kids. So I went off and I did real estate, and I was able to work from home and then go to the office. And it was really great to have 2 kids and nurse my kids and take them with me to closings. It was amazing.
Yeah. So you were in real estate law for how long?
About 20 years, almost 20 years.
What made you finally want to take the plunge and do something different?
I had a pivotal moment on a yoga mat back in 2013. And I just finished a bodybuilding competition because I used to compete in figure. And I was going to be on TV. My girlfriend was getting it recorded on TV. Went into this yoga class, my third one. And in this yoga class, she's talking to everybody, asking them how happy they are. I'm literally struggling to save my life because yoga is very hard. And in that moment, something cracked wide open inside of me as I was putting my leg one way, my other leg the next way, and she was asking people if they were happy. In that moment, I realized that this pain was coming through me, and I could not stop this pain, and no pain, no gain. So I always pushed through all the pain. And in that moment, everything that I had held back for years just kept flooding through, and I started bawling my eyes out on this yoga mat. And as she's talking, I'm like, I don't remember who Shamina is. I have no idea. I had all the success. We had checked all the boxes, perfect body, married, hot husband. We both had our businesses. We traveled to Europe in the summer, went to the Caribbean in the winter. We had two gorgeous kids. We were successful, had our $1 million home, everything. And yet in that moment, I realized like none of that mattered. Like something was missing inside of me and I couldn't unsee that moment. And it was actually a pivotal moment that changed my entire life to where I am today.
What do you do when you have a moment like that?
You sit there and you bawl. And that's what I did. I stayed in this frog pose, is what it was called. And I just sat there and I reflected and I'm like, gosh, I was in survival mode for so many years. I was hustling so hard, making the money, which that's all I knew to do. I mean, if you told me I couldn't do something, I was going to go show you how to do it. I was going to do it. But in that moment, I was like, I had found this stillness where I couldn't unsee the things that I'd been hiding and numbing myself out with
Yeah.
throughout the years. My marriage was one of them.
Interesting. So was this kind of like the catalyst for you, or did it have to happen a bunch of other times after that?
Oh no, that was it. That was the moment. And a month later, we went to see a therapist, and a month later, he ended up moving out, and it literally led me on my journey of my spiritual awakening. I don't know how
Wow.
else you want to call it, but I was a
Yeah.
lawyer, and I didn't believe in any of this. I didn't know any of this, but when things started happening to me, I'm like, oh, you need to listen because something is speaking to you beyond where you are right now,
When you
and
say
it
you
was
didn't
definitely.
know any of this, are you just talking about because like you were obviously a shrewd academic to be able to make it all the way to the point that you were at in your career? You're just saying that you didn't know any of the like the spiritual stuff or
Yeah,
the
none.
inner work type thing.
None, zero. Like
Okay.
if I wanted to do a triathlon, I hired somebody and I trained and I did the triathlon. If I
Yeah.
wanted to do figure, I hired a coach, I did the figure. I never did the internal work. I
Mhm.
always did the like just get it done and do it proficient and be the best at it. There was no other connection. There's no other higher self involved in that process.
Yeah.
I was
So
I was shut down emotionally, so I couldn't connect to myself.
yeah, I see. So it was you were trapped in the chase and
Yeah,
then not taking a breath to figure out who you were along the way.
basically. And I had so much trauma in my childhood that my nervous system and my whole body had just shut down and closed off anything emotional so I couldn't get hurt. So I had a shield on me. And this is where most women identify with being like cold or an ice queen or, not emotional. And I was a loving woman, but I was not sharing any of that love really with anybody else because
Available. Yeah.
yeah, it was not available. Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be really insidious because, like you said, you have all the external markers of success, right? Because that's what happens sometimes is you at least for you, you were channeling all of that into something productive, whereas maybe some people channel that into addiction and some really really unproductive terrible things. But you were, like you said, bodybuilding, being a mom, being an attorney, being a wife, like that's so much work to do, and you were just channeled all of your negative energy, the trauma that you pushed down into this like be a high performer mentality, and it worked up until the point that it no longer worked, right?
Exactly. And when I identified it in myself, I start to see it in other women. So I was very masculine because it was like a very wounded masculine because I was proving myself, always in competition with everybody
Yeah,
and
yeah.
never trusting people. It was I cut you off before you get to cut me off. Although I had like hundreds of friends, it was like I never got let them come in that close. But now I identify this behavior and pattern in so many high performing and business women who are the same exact like me because no one came to, when we were younger and said, yeah, how are you feeling? What are your emotions? It was like, how fast can you run? What can you do? And as us women, we have to show up twice as much to be seen and heard. And if, when you're emotional, no one takes you seriously. I was a lawyer. I had to walk into court like a badass, there's
Yeah,
no way,
yeah.
or they can smell the fear, right?
Yeah, you can't walk into court and use your astrology sign as an excuse for yeah for not being professional that day. Uh, tell
We
me,
got kicked out. We got kicked out of court. If one judge, she was like little Judge Judy. If you weren't dressed correctly, if you had your trench coat on top of your suit, she'd kick you out and you had to come back again. It was crazy. Anyways,
yeah, that's the trauma from being an attorney. That's post traumatic attorney disorder, is what I think it's called. Yeah.
you're recovering.
What did you do professionally during this time? Were you still all in on being an attorney, or were you at that point just reconsidering everything?
So after this breakdown, I started doing this work. I was doing some, I had some clients still, but it just didn't light me up anymore. And I spent 3.5 years in what I would call monk mode, where I ended up getting separated, with divorce eventually. I was celibate. I just literally sat and tried to figure out, how did my marriage and my life get to that point that I didn't know something was wrong, and it got there and I needed to figure out why. And
Mm.
I knew marriage was just a byproduct of the falling apart, was just a byproduct of me. I take responsibility for it. Both of us. We both brought our trauma into it. So I went and I started researching, and then spiritual teachers, dead and alive, were starting to come to me. It was really crazy. And I started realizing that I had some work, deep work to do. And that was a journey. And I worked as a lawyer still, but it got to a point where I'm like, something's calling me to something else. And making that pivot from being a lawyer to this, oh man, it was so hard, because I identified as being a lawyer for years, decades. It was really, really hard.
Well, I said that you are deep into sunk cost fallacy at that point. And even if you would have figured it out earlier, you're still, I mean, just the effort to go to law school and get to have the ability to be an attorney is enough to have that sunk cost fallacy. So like being able to actually have a successful career doing it, I can only imagine made it that much worse. So tell me practically, Shamina, the transition period for you from moving from being a high performing attorney to having a business for the first time in your life. Like practically what I mean by that is like, were you thinking about emergency savings? Or are you thinking about, I got to start making money on this side thing to prove that I can even make money doing this before I go do this? Like, talk to me the practical steps of making that transition.
So I was having all these awakenings, and I was going to different healers, and I saw these people aren't making any money. I'm like, there's really no way I could be a healer in this industry. I still was a high performer in me. And but I saw the women making millions of dollars online. I'm like, okay, well, that's something I can do. After I like really awakened my consciousness and I started mastering my emotions, it was literally the key to everything. I realized, okay, I know how to control my triggers. I know how to create my reality, because once I cleared away a trauma, it was like all of a sudden the thing that I was desiring was showing up. And not that I thought I had created manifesting, I don't even like that word anymore, but I was like, wow, I can create whatever I want with my mind. And so then I started seeing it with money. Well, came a point where I wasn't working, money ran out. And so my bank account went on life support. And I would have sometimes, weeks left in the month. And after living such a lavish life and then going down to, I never wanted to lose my house, because I wanted my kids to have stability. We have no family here. And I thought this was one constant in their life. I'm going to hang on to it. But then COVID hit. And I was like, okay, I might lose my house. And that's what I kept thinking. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to have to live in my car, go to Lifetime and shower. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I said, I've got to make money, and I've got to make money right now. And so I created a course. I was doing it literally by the bootstraps. I was just figuring things out as I went along. I remember being up at 5 o'clock in the morning still learning ClickFunnels, because I didn't have any money to hire people, but I was not willing to fail. And I was at a place where there was no plan B. And so I was at my rock bottom. I had to figure it out, and I had to figure it out fast. And I did. And so first course I put out there, I mean, I had 17 people sign up, and then I put another course out. Some more people signed up. I started doing some private mentoring. And as soon as I made some money, I put it right back into my business, and I started hiring mentors, because I'm like, these people have it figured out. I need to figure out what they know, and I need to do it fast. So
So
it was
hang
a
on,
really,
hang on.
yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Hang on one second. You kind of glossed over this. You created your first course and you got 17 customers, and then you went, somebody listening right now just heard that and went like, how did you get 17 people to buy a course that you just put out? Like, what was the course about? What was the price on the course? How did you find those people? These are the unlocks for a lot of people listening that like
Okay.
they can't
I'll tell you.
fathom even making a dollar, let alone getting 17 people to you. Now doesn't seem like anything, but like at the time, that's a
Huge.
huge proof that you're doing something that people are actually interested in taking their wallets out and paying for. So tell me that
Okay.
process.
So I had spent some time creating content online without selling anything. So I was already creating an audience base right there. So
Okay.
even though I had nothing to sell, I was bringing them through my transformation of what was going on. So people were really curious. They were just waiting for me to put an offer out. I had people messaging me too, what are you selling? I'm like, oh, my course is coming soon. My course is coming soon. The first course was called Hotline to the Universe, because I was like, you know what? I'm going to show you how to get the hotline universe. You can create whatever you want. And people wanted that. I saw another woman. This is when Instagram was, when you can go like live and you'd have a couple hundred people on there. Well, a woman took interest in some of the stuff I was doing. I said, "Hey, why don't we go live?" She had a bigger audience than me. So I'm like, she said, "Sure, let's go live." We had 250 people watching the live.
Wow.
And I thought, this was amazing. I'm going to go live with this lady some more. Well, from that live, people came from there to buy my course who'd never met me before that are still in my world to this day. And it's like,
And
if
how
you don't,
much did you sell that course for?
it was $347.
Love it.
And I had a VIP option for $597, and every single person took the VIP option.
Nice.
And then those clients rolled into another 90-day program that I had for $3,200. And then some of them became private clients. And that's kind of just how I started the process.
Yeah, love it. So then you make some money, but instead of going and spending that money on a new purse or something like that, you take the money and dump it directly back into the business, but not back into the business in terms of getting more software or hiring an employee or something, directly back into the business, meaning you wanted to level up your skill set, which is a massive unlock that a lot of people, it can feel so uncomfortable, even though they might have a background similar to yours, where they went to law school and had no problem getting $250,000 in debt to go to law school. But then they look at getting an online course, or they look at hiring a business coach, and it's like, oh man, $1,000, that's crazy, and it's like, well, wait a second, you just dropped like 300 grand on an education that you no longer want anything to do with, and you're not willing to drop 3K to talk to somebody who has figured out the exact thing that you want to figure out. This is crazy. It does not add up to me. Did you have any like resistance to doing that at first, or was it just the thing that made the most sense?
No, it was to me, my credit cards were maxed, but I was like, I need to find a spot where I can go put this on there because I looked at it as school. I looked at it as like the credit card is just me paying my tuition. So I'll pay it
Yeah.
off later. And it was just an interest that I can handle. It was actually a better interest than any of the loans from school. So I thought of this going to school next. So
Yeah.
that's how I rationalized that quote unquote debt in a way of like it was just a way of me learning something. And let me tell you, the moment that that money came in, I paid off my cards, all of my cards, like when I started rolling in. And to me, I would do it all over again. I would, because I was betting on me and
Mhm.
I was looking at someone who had proven system and I'm like, okay,
Yeah, that's what it is. I love the concept of investing in yourself for that main purpose. Because I've told people before, people will be like, well, I put money in this thing and then it didn't end up working out. And it was just a waste of money. And how do you avoid scams and how do you avoid bad coaches and everything like that? And I'm like, okay, there are some things that you should do to vet people and to make sure that you're,
sure.
investing into things that are going to benefit you. But at the end of the day, even if it doesn't, I've always found it to be valuable because every time I place money on that, it's like I'm at the horse races betting on a horse, and that horse is me. And every bet that I make on myself is another belief notch in my belt to say that like I'm going to figure this out. It's just a matter of time. If this person scams me and steals my 10 grand, well, I'm going to go make another 10 grand and I'm going to go find somebody else who can help me figure it out. Or I'm going to avoid that mistake again and I'm going to go do this with this money instead of that.
Exactly.
You cannot look at it as like the problem with people's mentality behind coaching and courses and masterminds and all these other things that you can invest in when it comes to increasing your knowledge and connections in the world. The problem is that they think that this program is the answer to all of their problems, and it's just not. It never is. And by the way, if somebody's promising you that, run the other direction, because that's one of the red flags. Like a
Yeah.
good coach knows that you are going to have to work. You need to work the system if it's going to work out for you. It's not up to me to make you successful. It's up to you to make you successful. I'm just here to help.
Right. I think that it comes back to a victim mindset. See, I had to work on that victim mindset and that scarcity mindset. Because if you come in, whenever someone tells me something doesn't work, I'm like, well, did you give it 100%? Or, when they're complaining about money being wasted, they're not taking a self accountability. Like,
Yeah.
okay, the investment didn't go the right way. Like you said, you'll make more money. And in my opinion, it's like every investment I've made, I've invested about $680,000 what we've added up like in this last 5 years into mentors, into programs. And some of them weren't all bangers,
Yep.
like that's just what happened. But I look at it and be like, well, I took a chance. It's okay. I'll make more money. And I learned something. I always take something away, something valuable, because I'm the powerful woman that's going in to learn about this thing. And I think it's the way people look at money. And if people look at money as being wasted, which I don't believe it can be wasted, they're freaking printing it right now everywhere, then you're going to start seeing things from a different perspective. Okay. I hired a woman and I did a program with her. It was $30,000. I didn't go through any of her content. I went to two in-person events and I got one idea from one and one from the next, and it literally opened up millions for me. So it shifted the way I thought about things. I realized in that room, nobody does what I do. It gave me conviction. Boom. Next one, I went from doing a 10K offer to a $20,000 offer. Boom. It like upgraded me. So at that event, people were buying from me. It's just how you look at things through the lens that you see. And I feel like people's past experiences with their money, with their emotions, with whatever is happening, makes them look through a filter and a lens that sees things in a lack mindset as opposed to abundance. I love the way you think. And, before we started on this call, we were talking about not limiting the coffee every day or whatnot. I'm all for purchasing the things that make you happy, because if you're in a state of believing that you get what you want, guess what? The universe is going to send you more of that. But if you're walking around saying, "Poor me, where is it at?" and looking for the things and where's the money, then that's what you're going to start. That's it. That's a frequency and energy you're putting out there. I don't have the money.
Yeah.
So I always like to reframe everything, even the debt from school, whatever it is. You have to look at things from a different perspective.
What you focus on, you get more of.
Yeah, what you focus on grows. I literally, first thing I do in the morning, open up my phone, I look at my bank account, I look at my Stripe account, I look at my money makers. And so many before, when I was starting all over again and I had no money, I was like paying and praying. I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to go through.
Yeah.
And and a lot of people who don't have a good relationship with money, they don't look at their bank accounts because they are afraid of what they're going to see. I'm
Yeah.
like, you have to normalize, looking at it even when it doesn't look the way you want, because you got to take that fear out of it.
Mhm.
Because this is where money's got power over you, and you need to have power over money. And when you have that shift, man, your income ceilings, your income is going to grow, your ceilings are going to break through of how much you're bringing in, even with the same strategy you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta look at it. You have got to look at it like the game that it is. Just like you're playing a video game and you're gonna go, get some more loot. You need some more guns. You need some more ammo. You're starting the game with nothing. You're starting the game with just nothing but time. But you can, if you focus on like, you can't get stuck in the negativity when you open up your bank account and see a negative balance, or you see credit card debt and no cash in the bank. Because like you said, if you just avoid it, it's not going away. That's the problem, is like, it's not going to magically fix itself. You have to look at it every day, even if it hurts a little bit, and then put yourself in a positive mindset about, what, money doesn't disappear. Even in, I would call it a strange economic time that we're in right now. It wouldn't necessarily be a downturn, but some strange things: high interest rates, high inflation, stuff costs more than it ever has, wages aren't increasing like they used to. It's a strange economic time. But the thing is, money doesn't disappear. It doesn't vanish into thin air. It just changes hands. Like, somebody has it. Somebody's doing well. Somebody's living in abundance, even though there's a lot of people living in scarcity. So if you can fix the mindset that you have about that and look at your bank account like it's a game, and then the game becomes like, okay, well, what can I do to fix this? And like you talked about, maybe for a little bit, giving up Starbucks is the correct move for you, because you don't really care that much about Starbucks. You know what I mean? Like, when you look at it, you're like, nah, I don't really, like, I like the coffee I make at home. I just got in the habit of buying it at Starbucks. I could probably start making it at home. Cool. If you really enjoy Starbucks and you can't make that drink at your house because they make it so well, okay, then sacrificing Starbucks isn't the thing you're going to sacrifice, but you're going to go sacrifice something else so that you can start working on increasing that balance in your account. But if you look at it like a game, it kind of takes the stakes away a little bit, where you're not so worried that you can't even take any action to get out of the hole that you're in. You have to fix the mindset of looking at it like this is a permanent state and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, I think the thing that really shifted me is that when I had no money, I had to believe that the money existed and that I was a wealthy woman then. And I
Mm.
think for a lot of people, they wait for the money to come in to feel rich. They wait for the money to come in to change the state that they're in. And when you realize that money is not going to change who you are right in this moment, that's when you'll find your true wealth. Because the money is going to, this is what I see. A lot of people who have money, but they have a broke mindset. There's nothing worse than someone having money and not being able to spend it and use it. That to me is like more broke than someone without it, because you have
Absolutely.
fear of it going out and in and out. And when we're looking at something like Starbucks, I would suggest that people find things where you find your money triggers. What triggers you when you go to spend money or invest it? What makes you heightened? Because that's where you're going to find a spot that you can open up more wealth for yourself. I've studied so many women, and I study emotional intelligence and how we relate to money. And I've found that there's three core wounds that we all have. It's unworthiness, betrayal, and abandonment. I can look in someone's business right now and I can look at their income and I can see which one of their core wounds are happening. Because I'll tell you, people with unworthiness are undercharging most of their programs, their pricing, their services. They're also probably still trading time for money. They're not, they're not looking at money in a different. They're giving everything plus a kitchen sink for one offer or whatever it is, and they're not realizing how valuable their time is because they're meeting their prospect or their client or their patient or whoever at their money mindset. So they're thinking, what are people going to spend or what they're going to buy? I'm going to price it for them instead of what their value of what they're giving. So that's what I see. Abandonment. I'll see people have big months, low months, big months. And yeah, we're entrepreneurs, so we're always going to have, ups and downs, but you'll see where money will come in, but then all of a sudden a lawsuit will come up or some expense will come up because they're afraid to hang on to the money because they're waiting for the next shoe to drop. So they're preparing themselves. And it's a subconscious thing that people are doing that don't even realize. Betrayal, someone betrayed you. Okay, you don't trust that money's going to stay. And so you're going to do whatever it takes to bring it in, but then also have it go right back out. So I see a lot of people, like I've had clients that make $100,000 a month. They'll come to me and say, "Hey, I don't know where the money is. I don't know where I have no money left." And like that's where I'm like, "Okay, we got to figure out what's creating the limits or where's the money going and why don't you want it?" And when I deal with women who are in their masculine energy, I feel like they're chasing money because I think that money's masculine and the way we receive it's feminine. Because money protects us, it takes care of us, it provides for us, and everybody has masculine and feminine energy. And if we look at it that way, if women are in their masculine chasing money, they're not allowing themselves to actually receive it. So I help them work through this process of understanding you tap into your feminine like I did. When I was the ice queen and blocked, I wasn't doing that emotional, spiritual work. And then when I started doing it, I just started trusting that more money was coming. I remember
Mm.
when I went from one-on-one to group because I had to make that scaling decision. My income dropped massively per month. I was charging, I think, I don't know, $10,000 a month to, I don't know what it was, back then for mentoring. And I just didn't, I wanted my time back. I didn't want to have to work as much to make the money. And when I did that, I was riding on the Peloton and I was crying because I was so worried about the money. I'm like, Shamina, money doesn't really come from one area. I was doing my teachings to myself. I'm like, more is coming. More is coming. If you can realize that this is not your final destination and more is coming, how would you show up every single day? You would show up knowing more is coming and getting into that mindset. Literally, it's like it's gone wild in my community, but it allows people to believe like it's not running out.
Yeah.
There's more. Get into the abundance mindset and you'll unlock so much wealth for yourself.
Yeah, it's energy. It has to flow
Totally.
out in order for it to be able to flow in. Like you can't if you hold your money in a closed fist, then you may not lose your money. That's a pro. That's a positive. Not losing money. That's cool. But you also can't receive any money. You can't. Nobody can drop money in a closed fist. Like you have to hold your hand open, which means that you're going to have to be open to the idea of the money going out. But the nice thing about it is that if you keep your hand open, some of that's going to come back in if you do the work that's required.
I do that exercise that you're talking about with everybody. I mean, we're
Oh,
so
really?
aligned. Really crazy. Because I always say, like, listen, women, what do you want to receive? And like and they'll say blah blah blah. And I say, okay, put your hand out. I said, all the things that you don't want in your life right now, you're hanging on to. So how are you making room to receive the things that you want? So sometimes you've got to let go
Yeah.
of the things that aren't serving you or, bringing you where you want to receive. I love that you did that, analogy because it's so true. I think people hold on to old belief systems. I mean, listen, a lot of the stuff that we believe about money it passed down from my parents. I remember when I started making money, my mom goes, "Don't waste your money." And I'm like, "Mom," I had to really correct her. I'm like, "Mom, do not tell me I can ever waste my money again." She goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry, sorry." And now she's like, we go into Louis Vuitton or something. She's like, "Oh, I'd like that. I'd like that." But before, it was like constriction. She was worried about my safety because that's what we were raised where things were running out.
Yeah.
But that's changed now. We are in a consumption market. We have so much to consume right now. And it's a matter of like what makes you feel the wealthiest. Like old me used to do, have, and then be. So I would do the thing. I was a worker, have the success or have the thing, and then I would be happy or something like that. And now I realize that be, do, have is you need to be the wealthy, happiest version of yourself first, the most authentic and in integrity aligned version of you right now, whatever that looks like for self development to get you there. B, then go do the things, the strategy, the things in life, and then you're going to have the peace or the happiness that you want. And I think that people have it messed up. They think if I have the fancy cars, I have this, it's going to make me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And like that yoga mat moment, I didn't have fulfillment. I didn't know who I was as a human.
Yep.
And so I feel when people really fix that, they start seeing money in a different way. They start seeing wealth in a different way. I bought a G-Wagon cash, and I know a lot of people tell me you could leverage it, but I don't want to be a leaser because I knew it was part of, I embody my brand.
Hmm.
Every time I get in that car, it makes me feel wealthy.
Yeah.
Every time I drive it. And so do you have to do that? No, but I would ask you to do things every single day that your future self that already exists with all the money that you want would be doing now within reason, right? Like
Yeah.
show up as that person right now.
Well, the
Like,
point is you didn't buy the G-Wagon on credit because you know what I'm saying? Like that's the difference between like be it until you become it and
yeah.
fake it until you make it. The fake it till you make it says like, well, I got to get the G-Wagon now so that people think I'm successful so I can make more money because people will think, no, 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 no. It's you bought the G-Wagon cash, which I am a big fan of buying vehicles cash. I don't like the idea of car payments,
Me
and people
neither.
that try to make you feel bad about it. Don't let them,
They
Shamina.
do.
That's
They
stupid.
do. They're like, you're
Um,
crazy. That's like
yeah,
$300,000. I got a
yeah,
premium. I bought it at a premium back then.
yeah.
Yeah.
But who cares? Like it's the
Yeah.
peace of mind that you get, and you still got the vehicle. But that's the whole point, though, is that you shouldn't be going out trying to make yourself look successful when you're not. If right now the car that you can afford to buy cash is a 10-year-old Honda Civic, buy that one cash. And then focus on earning more money so that you can eventually buy the G-Wagon if that's what you really want. But yeah,
Right.
man, I love the conversation, Shamina. I really appreciate you for coming on the show. Where can people go to get more from you?
Okay. So, well, I don't always do this. I just want to say, since Travis gives so much information and benefit out to the world, I want to give that back to your audience. And so I've got two gifts that I'd love to give away. And this is like
Okay.
for the high achieving, high performing woman, who has maybe hit that, next has hit their ceiling, or she's working really hard and she hasn't not, achieved the success or the wealth. She wants freedom and she doesn't want to do it as hard. She wants to make money faster. I've got a cash flow system. Now, what you need to do is you need to go to Shamina Taylor on Instagram, and you need to just say Travis's name that you saw me on his show, and that you will automatically get this. Basically, it's a blueprint on how you can start accelerating your cash every month. Also, we do a 15-minute wealth specialization call where if you want to find out, where's my money stuck and how can I open up some more wealth? We want you to come, book one of the calls with one of our specialists and we can help you out. Listen, this stuff doesn't need to be so hard. You don't need to be working so hard for your money and for your wealth. There's so many opportunities of money all around you. And if you learn how to open up more money doing what you're doing right now, then you're going to be working a lot less. Also, you need to go get my book. It's called Unlocking the Quantum Woman. And listen, even if you're a dude, we go to Amazon. We have like 200 and I don't know, 57 or something reviews on there. Even if you're a man, you'll see there are men reviewing this book. It's going to really help you unlock your emotions and really help you get into the mindset of what it needs to what you need to do in order for you to create that life that you want. And then check out my podcast, Unapologetically Rich, where I show you and teach you to be unapologetically rich.
At Shamina Taylor over on Instagram. Go check out her Instagram page, and you'll be able to find everything else from there. Shamina, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know you're a very busy woman, so it does not. We never take people's time for granted here. So thank you so much for taking the time. Everybody else listening, remember, money will only solve your money problems, but it is a little bit easier to solve the rest of your problems if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that problem first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch you next time. Peace out.